this is a useful. It's 7:36 a.m. Thursday, November 14th, 2024. What would Elon Musk have to be like for me to be like, oh, so excited about him doing anything? One, he needed to be against apartheid, actively for Black Lives Matter, actively against racism. Yeah, people like to make fun of people like me and call us social justice warriors or snowflakes or what the fuck. I think you're just decent human beings that care about universal human rights. It's not even about like woke or some shit. Like it's just basic human decency. It's not politically correct. It's not some idea of being like a robot or some kind of like social cop. It's not a bad thing. People just, they feel bad and they feel kept in check and on their toes, walking on eggshells. They're worried they're going to say the wrong thing. They're not sure what is the right or wrong thing to say. They haven't grown up with people of all different races to feel any sense of like, I don't know how to explain this to you where you can't just like empathize enough. And how much, like, you go to a major city anywhere in the world, it should look like Times Square, New York City. It should look like everybody from everywhere. There's something wrong with the ecosystem. If a major city doesn't look like everyone from everywhere in 2024 or into the future, and everyone is equal, everyone is like, and yeah, that means people can be assholes too. Coming from the angle of like everybody's an asshole sort of helps maybe level something in people's heads about like they're walking on eggshells because they sense they need to hold people up in some kind of pedestal, like they could do no wrong. And that's why then they react in this like overcompensating kind of way. And that's what turns them into a monster. Because they don't want to be, they'd have to overcompensate in their mind at least or something. So then they just turn into a jerk on purpose. And then they lean into like being cruel, saying stupid shit nobody should say. And then everybody like that feels the same way as them gets in on it, and then they want to be racist. Like they think, then they start saying shit about it's a free speech thing, and that's why you get this like topsy-turvy bullshit world. Like cut right through all the crap, universal human rights, or everything is bullshit. People can be assholes no matter what background they come from. When you talked about seeing them as individuals, like that guy fucked with you. It's racist to say that guy fucked with you, so an entire demographic of people is like that one guy. That's where, like, that's what would be racist. Or sexist. Or classist. Yeah, the Civil Rights Act. Race, class, sex, gender, age, ability, national origin. So, like, in both ways, you can't, like, hide behind... It's like someone saying they're a Christian, so they couldn't possibly have stolen all your stuff. But meanwhile, this one guy is stealing all your shit and then going to church and asking for forgiveness. Like, they're an asshole. Like that, I feel like that's closer to the complicated truth about people than whatever the fuck anybody else ever says. And then appreciating history, like that's when you start seeing the bigger demographic. That's what you say, like Black Lives Matter. And they do. And it is a historical perspective. It is about the winding ways that came up through time, and it's just the true history of the planet. When you talk about white supremacy being this enormous problem around the globe, it's because it's the history of our planet. That you can't deny that. It is a bigger paintbrush. It's not meant to say that there was never a time when white people were imprisoned, enslaved, or brutalized somehow. You know, a lot of people from Irish descent want to remind you that, like, coming to America, there those signs that said Irish need not apply, and being like second-class citizens. Italians weren't considered white people. I mean, even as a Jewish person, there's some odd designation that falls between like a gray area. Like, what are you? Some otherness instead of like whatever white is supposed to be anyway. It can get, you talk about James Baldwin, talk about Malcolm X, talk about Nikki Giovanni, and conversations about mindedness, like a puritanical mind versus an accommodating mind. The puritanical mind, coming from like a 1950s perspective, is like white. And the accommodating mind, coming from a 1950s perspective, was black. And then from that puritanical point of view, the accommodating or black mind was somehow wrong or bad. And because they needed to feel better than somebody or some shit. Clean and pure and closer to God or some garbage that is just gross. And you need to know the history of it, but should not be infected by it. Like it's like a virus you want to look at under a microscope. It safely in a petri dish that you can put back on a shelf. Don't let it infect you and carry into like things that you say and do in the modern era, whatever the fuck, 7 generations from now. They need to know history. Somebody's idea is to just like erase history and start over again. We just aren't going to teach people about black history or slavery or liberation or the 60s. We're just going to kind of like sing Kumbaya and hold hands. And won't teach you about like horrible things that have ever happened against people from black, gay, women. We just won't teach you that stuff so that you complain less. And that's like why they're trying to stomp out anyone that's been educated. You need to know history. And that is history. That is still affecting us today because you aren't learning from it. And somebody's idea is to wipe the slate clean and let people live in ignorance instead. Because they just don't want you to complain anymore. I guess they also feel like the targets of history. It's the image of like a white guy who's also from like an affluent background. They don't feel like anybody likes them. Let's pretend they're a cop even. A white, rich cop. And they feel fucking hated. So now they're using their power to brutalize everybody else. And if you think, then somebody didn't teach you about history if that's a shock to you in 2024. You somehow missed it. I don't know how, after everything since 2020. You didn't see the cops beating the living shit out of the Black Lives Matter protesters? What image did you get that you remember now to not understand this? It just happened. We're not even talking about the fucking 70s. Yeah, the horrifying idea that, like, dude, I'm stuck inside and no one's taking me seriously for a reason. Because they've systematically killed everybody. It's just a nightmare. Yeah, I hope I'm fucking wrong. But, like, the more you get this weird response to everything you say, especially if you bring up COVID again. Yeah, and the poor, too. It's poor, dissidents, minority groups, people that had something to say that came from their firsthand experience of being treated like shit. And somebody's idea of just, like, wiping the slate clean as if that forgave them. Or somehow, now they don't have to hear people complain. Those people were bad for business. Some, like, mentality like that. So, the point was, like, what would Elon Musk have to be like for me to respect him? Because there's a surface level, like, he comes off, like, I don't really know that much about him other than shit about apartheid, emerald mines. He does not stand for human rights. He stands for trying to do whatever to get his space program running. But his Tesla vehicle is not necessarily designed to keep you safe. No matter how many tragic fucking scenarios you hear about it, it's not like they changed it. Yeah, the blame is put on the user. People complaining from his factories that they were being discriminated against. Yeah, what else is, like, tagged under him in my head where I just couldn't really be happy about this? But the point I'm trying to make is there's a simpler level where he almost feels like someone I would have been friends with in high school. But, like, you would have gone your own way as adults and you couldn't talk to each other as adults. But, like, he's autistic, he's a nerd, he's a space nerd. Yeah, there's, like, a level to him that's just really unfortunate because you almost feel like you could have been friends. He reminds me of people, I guess. But, you know, that's if you forget all this other shit. Yeah, when the biggest betrayal I immediately felt was when he started donating, $45 million a day to Trump's campaign or something. I'm like, either the guy has been circled by the mafia and they, like, blackmailed him into doing that, or he's really just, like, doesn't give a fuck. Fuck everybody on the planet, I guess. Because, I mean, he alone, between him and Bezos alone, could have solved, like, every financial issue that anyone had. Wiped debt, medical debt, student debt, credit card debt, freed people from debt, paid for health care and housing for all, started their own universal basic income program. And you're like, well, maybe we didn't want them to do it because of what they seem to stand for. Again, they're not like, it'd be like, thanks, daddy, but, like, they don't really care so actively about human rights, so people would rather just, like, do for themselves. But they could have solved, like, I mean, the idea that we have no food around the world, they can grow food in space. We have hydroponics and greenhouses. There is no excuse that there's not ample supply of food for any population on the planet. Like, if you have a refugee camp somewhere, they could go there and set up a techie, immediate food and water supply. Clean water, good food, enough for an entire refugee camp. If they wanted to. That's the kind of, like, tech money resources that they have. And like Bezos is blowing up rocket ships into the upper atmosphere. There was just this one time, this image of it like exploding, and a bunch of people just going like, "Oh wow!" Like it was a big firework or something. It looked like a nebula. And like, you know, it's like the kind of this vibe of fuck the planet anyway. No one liked me. No one whatever good I could do, they didn't care. So fuck everybody. 'Cause I'll never be good enough. Vibe. Yeah, completely disregarding everybody's history, and you have to take them all into account all at once, and decenter yourself. There is a feeling, no matter, even if people from school were not like, I keep using the example of like, did I spend 1 hour or more talking to you? Because how much could I have known you if I hadn't had one conversation with you that lasted for like at least an hour? Like, I liked you, you were nice, we were classmates, maybe we were roommates, but that's all I really knew of you, was like some surface level, if we didn't talk for at least an hour at some point about something. You know, you saw me get Visionary Award or Distinguished Honor Roll or something. Like, I was kind of like visually propped up at school. My face hung in the fucking lobby of the school for 7 out of 8 years because of the Visionary Award thing. A lot of kids had like their names, like you knew their name because they would win awards or they were like part of something special. So like even if you didn't know them, you knew their name. Like it's its own mini I don't know how to explain it. A good way they said is like you didn't have popularity like a pyramid. You had just circles of people that interacted with each other. But we didn't have like the popular kids and then the like unpopular kids. They were just circles of kids. So at the point, like even at like a distance and you like barely knew each other, just living in that environment, like you did chores together. You got yelled at together. You went on field trips. You ate meals. And you were all stuck in the same place that was like a weird fucking situation for years. Some kids were there longer than me. Most people came before the age of 16. Only a couple people ever came after 16. There was some stipulation you had to be there at least 2 years or something to get the scholarship. Because they paid for part of college. When I first started, it was all of college. By the time I graduated, it was $75,000. The college I went to actually ended up paying more for my schooling than they did in the end. But yeah. They also said my tuition went up more than anybody else's did over 4 years. I don't know what the fuck that's about. Yeah, in the end, it was like $200,000 total with like scholarships and Pell Grants and whatever. And I feel like I still got fucked. And I was scrubbing toilets since I was 10. Like, we all were. The point is that we all were. And the various paths everybody ended up taking in life. But that was my family that I saw every day, that could have ever known me, ever like perceived me, was around me. And maybe that really is like the biggest impact that somebody like this racist fucking world needed, is to just be around other kids from all possible backgrounds. The one we were all poor is a thing. Like, that's not normal, even if, let's say, you deliberately try to mix up the high schools. So there's like every possible background a kid. Something about, and it's hard for me to wrap my head around how it would be different unless I look at a movie. Like literally, movies are like an outlet to see what other people's lives would be like. What a teenage life is supposed to be like, right? Engaging the world that way. But yeah, we had to wear school clothes and stuff too, so that kind of like, again, changes how it feels. If kids had more or less money than somebody, or their parents could splurge on some special jacket, like that was exactly the example used why they went to school uniforms in the first place. Something like in the 90s they used to wear their own clothes or something, but kids would get like beaten up for their shoes or their jacket, so they went to this like all school issued clothing thing with your name sewn into your clothes. Yeah, and I'm not necessarily advocating for all that. I felt ugly all growing up. My clothes did not fit in a flattering way. It would never be clothes I would choose to wear. It's like having to wear a skin you don't fit in. Yeah, I don't mean that by color. I mean like literally like tight or like too loose, you know. Yeah, there's a lot of ways people think in, I guess, the real world that I don't even consider. Like, that's not how I think at all. And that's like a culture difference or something. Like, it's practically like you're from another planet. And you need to be understood that way. Or people, like, just don't. They have no context for you. And you have no context for them. Yeah, you take too many things for granted about, like, I guess just how much of an impact South Park had is like a good way to put it. Like, somebody could be on the same page as me on all these like core issues, but they still sound like something from South Park, and I like South Park, but like there's so much shit that would never come out of our mouths. We wouldn't even think to say that as a joke. And because everyone else grew up on South Park and saw it every day or something, it's like in their bloodstream. And you just have to like realize that. Yeah, and it's not just South Park, but that's like if I had to use one example of something. And because it's mentioned in Community, which I did get to see with my friend through college, like that show was a really big deal to us. And there's the intro to political science, and they like all voted for South Park, which I played over and over again now because it is creepy as hell in relation to current events. And I don't understand what this fucking black mold joke is supposed to be. It scares the shit out of me that it's secretly like to them the black mold were these people that have complaints that they wanted to clean up. Until everybody's like, what's her fucking name? I don't know why I'm blanking on her name. Susie, Sally. What's her name? The religious lady. I'm just blanking on it right now. Oh my god, I need to look it up. It's annoying. I should know this. Shirley. Jesus. Yeah, and it's like Shirley is someone I've had to like live with and tolerate, but like no, I don't want to have to live my whole life with Shirley's character. Cuz they're so religious. Like it's just, why do I have to be stuck in this world where it's like Shirley dominates your entire universe? Yeah, they're nice and everything. She's not going to be a Nazi, right? But like, suicides in the military increase. Don't commit suicide. Right, when I get really mad, my like instinctual is like, kill yourself. Jump off a fucking bridge. Go drown in the fucking river. Like when I'm really, really mad and scared. That is what comes out of my mouth. But I like never really want people to die. Yeah, it just reminded me because like I must have said like kill yourself like 4 times last night or over the past, because like the fucking garbage trucks are coming multiple times when obviously they don't have to, and it's scaring the crap. Like it feels like I'm being stalked. It's deranged, and it's like they're sitting outside waiting or something. It's creepy. It's creepy and it's wrong. I need to pee like really bad. I said a lot of things and like really quickly that feel like the core of like a bunch of shit that you need to understand. Maybe I should just like save that like and come back in a minute. It's 8:03 in the morning. Yeah, do you have anything else to say about Elon Musk? No, I think I made like he needed to be like anti-racist. He needed to be for universal human rights, like a champion of universal human rights. Yeah, who cares how much money somebody has? It's just like a waste if they don't give a fuck about the rest of the world besides them and their friends. Or, yeah, and when their friends are, who's ever going to be nice to me? I'll go with, Trump will be nice to me, so I'll give him $45 million a day. I mean, unless there's a sick joke no one is going to say until it's too late. Like, by the time I'm 100, if I get to live to be 100, people will realize, like, money itself is fake. Like, fully realize it as, like, a global phenomenon. And then I don't know what we're gonna do. Apparently, people just think you're gonna put people into, like, sex slavery or labor camps. That's all the good. You're either gonna pick food or you're gonna fuck people. They don't need you for any. They can make a robot do everything else. And like, and that's the economy. Like, no. Whatever it takes, so that's not the fucking like only 2 options. Yes, scrub toilets, pick food, fuck people. Oh, you don't even, yes, some idea of like textiles and stuff, sewing things. But you can make it out of like all sorts of fabric that you could like print off you feed plastic into a printer and then print out fabric. So there isn't a sense of having to like pick cotton or something. They just have to sew shit together. And a computer could do that also. That's what I mean. Like, a lot of things could be replaced with a computer. A lot of things. I mean, even like, I've sort of thought, why can't we have a sanitization? Like, if people just had more respect for public bathrooms, 1. And then 2, it's like, it sanitizes itself and you just come in to clean up extra. How much that would relieve the janitorial working people of like a bunch of like that you get exposed to every single day. That's not humane for the janitor to like be 40 years cleaning public bathrooms. The chemicals and the shit is just like there should be a cap of certain jobs. Like, you only have to do this for 2 years or something. Yeah, stuff that's like backbreaking labor, chemical hazards, toxic hazards. Like, this shit gives you cancer and makes you sick if you're there too long. There should be a cap on those jobs. And yeah, it's still, even then, it's like, okay, well, we're willingly having to make some people expose themselves, even for a short amount of time, to stuff we know is gross and bad. Yeah, when we don't talk about it, then it's like, got another one to do it. Not even gonna pay him enough, really. Hope they don't die. Yet you're not getting to be an informed citizen about it. It's like you got stuck with that. And a lot of people wouldn't take those fucking jobs. Oh, yeah, the Milton Friedman thing. They just, on Democracy Now!, they just played a clip of Milton Friedman, this, like, economist from the 70s or something. And he, they called him, like, the godfather of the neoliberalism movement. And he's openly saying that, like, they wanted people to be illegal immigrants because then illegal immigrants, specifically illegal, would get denied benefits and assistance programs because they couldn't sign up, and would be forced to do these jobs that no one would take. And I'm telling, these jobs are shit that kills you. That's part of, it's not just like, oh, it's gross and hard. It kills you. And doing that to people and they don't even know, there's no even like sense of consent or like understanding, or yeah, there's definitely no, there's not really a monetary reward you can give to somebody for a job that kills you, because you can't spend the money. You lost 20 years off your fucking life, and you should have been able to sit at a desk with your own little fucking alcohol stand like Mad Men, just like all these other motherfuckers. The idea, it's not about people being smart enough or not. How can you claim someone's smart enough or not when you either like didn't give them an education or you tricked them out of it by making it not cool? And then, like, going back to what I was saying earlier, the stuff you watch to learn how to be a teenager. How much of that was like, you should have skipped school at least once. That was not a reality for me. Even if you skipped school, where the fuck were you gonna go? Hide in a bush? Just for the thrill of it? Like, there was nowhere to go on where I lived. You didn't have money to, like, go... I don't know what the fuck you, like, walk to the outlets, like a shopping area or something. What, to just look at shit you can't buy? If you steal it, you're fucked. Like, you'd get kicked out of school. I mean, you might not get kicked out if you ran away. You'd get, like, a level 3. You'd have to do some student homes worked on this, like, 40 hours, 40 days. So they call it, like, 40 and 40. Or 20 and 20. Like, 40 hours of chores. Like, extra shit. For 40 days. Like, that's, like, or detentions. It was, like, detentions, restrictions, levels, and then if you got too much of that, you'd get terminated. And yeah, if you get kicked out, you lost your scholarship. Like, there was no point in even being there, in a way. Like, it's just such a loss that, like, this girl that they made famous recently, a lady from the New York Times wrote a book about her and won a fucking Pulitzer Prize and everything. That girl got in a fight, punched somebody in the nose, as far as I've read online, and got kicked out. And never got her scholarship. But the lady that wrote the book got a fucking Pulitzer. Did they go back and make sure that kid still got money to, like, do things? Or, like, that's the kind of, like, oh, there's consequences. What, her whole life is gonna be stagnant now because, like, she got in a fight once? when she was a teenager, in this like environment where you're not really giving everybody good therapy. You send like the worst cases to this place called Philhaven that's like a Christian based. Everyone I knew that went there ended up on medication. Like they're testing medication out on them is my point to make. Yeah, no one. I had PTSD and no one diagnosed it until college. And now someone has gone out of their fucking way to make sure it's almost like you have pseudo combat PTSD from all the shit since 2020. Had the time of their fucking life beating the crap out of you. I wonder who they were and who they worked for. Oh, they wanted to do it to everybody. Yeah, well, this is how the cookie crumbled. No, the mental health care therapeutic side was absolute shit. They gave me a piece of paper that said past history of sexual abuse ? And never talked to me about it. Didn't assign me to a therapist. Didn't do shit. The fucking gynecology appointment I had was 7 people in a room for some fucking reason, and the woman hurt me, and I was crying, and they couldn't finish the fucking exam. The only other gynecologist appointment I've ever fucking had was in college, where I really feel like the building was empty, and this person like stuck their fingers in me, said there was scar tissue, and then had me go home. I just remember walking down the hallway to their doctor's office bit, and it was like weirdly unlit. That's what I mean by empty, like as if they had just used an old building or something. Yeah, the idea that they've been in the process of systematically ending the world in places, and this is how they like kept you distracted. Like, I mean, I heard about H1N1 and swine flu when I was in school, but there was never anything that shut the whole fucking world down at once, right? I'm just trying to put puzzle pieces together because of like, it's obviously just, it's some shit. It's some fucking military takeover shit. Yeah, let me know who, like in 50 years, what people learn in school. And then you would know what the fuck, something. What they learn in school, opportunities they have in life, and how they die. How old they get to be when they fucking die or not. You should be living to be 100. Like, that should be average. Because we know better now. Blue zones and all this other shit. It's not just your genetics. I really have to pee. I'm glad I didn't shut it off, because there is like the complicated nature of how things work. I was saying earlier about racism, and you have somebody that was an asshole to you. They were an asshole. You don't extend it to like the entire group or the entire demographic. And something is similar about like talking about like a whole company or a whole government or anything like that. Like, maybe the best they could do was have this one lady give me this letter that said this shit on it. But they couldn't really, it's not like one whole working unit. It's like different people with different amounts of influence or connection, or so like some people are trying to give you hints in the best way they can, but they couldn't just outrightly tell you stuff. As opposed to thinking of like it as one blob. And like that explains why things are so fucking weird too. I never saw going, when I was there, I did not see it as like a government connected thing. You know, it's really easy to think all the companies are connected to the government, dummy. It's almost like its own joke to say that they're not. Any business, no matter how small, is technically connected to the government. If they don't file their paperwork right, they get their business license revoked and they're shut down. So either they're acting without a business license or they're connected to the government. And that's how it all works every time. And like not realizing that because you're just a kid who's listened to like certain music your whole life and no one explained it to you, makes you ripe for this sort of like negative militarization. I've been calling it the use division. Like, you're gonna get used for somebody else's plans, and they're not. They don't. It's not. They're preying on your ignorance. Like and it's not like you should blame the bands you listen to or something. It was just never explained. Like, the whole picture just was never explained for anyone to have a chance to like get it. So yeah, it's just like, and that doesn't mean there's nothing to like keep fighting again. Like, oh, resistance is futile. I'm not saying that. Like, it's important for you to get it so you can know what you're arguing, to make a better argument, not to give up. Because yeah, the main points are still the main points about like critiquing capitalism. You know, it's still something that's like killing people needlessly so that you can have shit that you didn't necessarily need. And yeah, it's like, well, who's to say what you did or didn't need? You're gonna start making us eat like a vitamin pill and not having choices or something. That's not what I'm saying. Sorry. The world of sci-fi helps give like, you have to understand, like, I'm coming from I guess it's like, come with me into this space of, it's kind of speculative. It's kind of like, well, yeah, it's starting to sound like wishy-washy, but like sci-fi telling the truth closer or something. It's not. You have to imagine a future. And to imagine that future and illustrate it for somebody so they get the point of like where this is possibly going.
You're talking about possibilities. I'm not speaking from a place of like I am a prophetess and I know exactly everything. I guess that's what I'm trying to convey. It's not like as if I couldn't be wrong about something, or I couldn't have misspoke, or I couldn't have missed a detail, I have a blind spot, but like the general picture. Yeah, I'm not painting a photorealistic image for you. I'm painting like an expressionist. And you get the point. Yet when I talk about Candyland capitalism, I look so tired. Anyway, and yeah, it's not to point a finger only at the candy business. It's just like clearly what I can use to explain things with, because it's like what I learned over and over again. And don't be mad at Hershey. Look at Nestle, because it's like 4 times bigger, has 4 times the wealth, 4 times the power. Yeah, and they were the ones fucking around with baby formula. And they're all using child labor. It's just like this deep irony of Hershey using child labor to make the candy that gets eaten by the customers who get diabetes if they have too much. Like, this is about moderation. Somehow it's just like the Tesla cars. Like, if you fall asleep when they're self-driving and you crash, it's not his fault. And that's his mentality. Like, that's the company's mentality. If you eat too much of it, but how much is too, like, there's a story about the Tootsie Roll factory. That's a different company, but that, like, something about they were all just eating Tootsie Rolls all day, and it, like, somehow their body acclimated and, like, they weren't eating other food. I don't know if that's in, like, I just read this story somewhere. Yeah, anyway, yeah, you should look this stuff up, because otherwise it sounds like you're full of crap. Like, I wouldn't listen to me if I had just pulled that out of my ass. Hold on. But, well, let me finish this, like, supply chain thing. So then the child labor, which, yeah, is, like, an issue with, like, if the family doesn't have enough money and they need to send their kid to work a little bit or at all, like, you're taking away a source of income for the family. But these things can be supplemented, and the kid should be in school. Like, the kid should be it doesn't have to be, like, sat down with a nun and, like, learn weird dictator thing. But, like, they need to be entrenched in an environment that's teaching them shit, letting their brain absorb knowledge and information that they are supposed to remember 50 years later, so that they are an educated citizen no matter where the fuck they live. That can be fun in ways that, like, when I say the kid should be in school, you get the image of, like, a Catholic school in a tie, like, having to sit up straight, be quiet, the teacher's, like, gonna beat you with a ruler or something. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Well, anyway, so, yeah, and then getting to, like, the school I went to, and then you have these kids that are supposed to be underprivileged coming from across the U.S. getting scholarships, right? And then I ended up as a janitor mostly. Other kids work as housekeepers or big box store cashiers. I also have a bud tending license, but I haven't really been able to use it But I have a degree in writing. Like, so what am I supposed to be doing with my life? And then some other kids have, like, they work for the news. They work making movies. They work in the NFL. What are the big, they work for Congress. They work for the ACLU. They, like, are doing some, like, big shit thing with their life. Like a very different world than, but you went to the same place. So it begs, like, the question, why? And then I hate if the response is, like, somehow I wasn't good enough is bullshit. I think people were deliberately sabotaging my life along the way so that it wouldn't get anywhere. So they could say that it's like, because you were an atheist. Because you were a pain in the ass. Because you were even, like, an outspoken feminist or some shit, which I guess qualifies as a pain in the ass. You didn't just, like, shut up and do what you were told. You had, like, something, and even though at work I did, like, in a sad way, like, was an employee. I mean, someone even, like, went out of their way to tell me that I was like an employee. Their friends would benefit from their success, but an employee that just clocks in and out every day wouldn't. And they wanted me to be more like a friend. And I didn't want to be a friend. Yeah, that's what the world had to offer me. So, like, this is why stuff sucks. Yeah, they can act like, because you moved here, and that's bogus too. All I'm getting is Tootsie Roll saved Marines during the war. Story where maybe this isn't important enough to look up. It just wants to talk about Marines in the war, and it does nothing about this claim that the workers were living off Tootsie Rolls. So sorry. I did read this somewhere. It's just what came to mind. But yeah, and then you go, like, back up again through that supply chain thing, and you're, like, talking about, oh, that's why we want these sugar plantations, even though we've kind of proven that too much sugar was killing us. Because, like, it's like covering an area of land, usually in another country, and then you get this, like, if you're bringing universal human rights to the area, that would be, like, a positive thing. But if it's just, like, power claim grab, get everybody to, like, have a certain mindset, and then you kind of have, like, power over the area because you have this big company there that people need to go to work. And it's kind of like the way people are fucking with the unions in America. And, like, doing union busting shit at Amazon. But, like, them doing it abroad. For various different industries that you don't think about. Like, and not just union busting, but, like, going out of their way to have a campaign about any given topic. Whatever suits some agenda. And, like, just realizing that that's how shit works is important. And shouldn't just be, like, oh, only certain people know that, and we don't want everyone to, because then they're going to be uncomfortable with capitalism again. Like, yeah, who is paying for someone to, like, ride in circles around my apartment that you could see from a satellite? Like, if I change Elon Musk's mind and he, like, uses his satellites to, like, prove that these people were stalking me, that would be a funny story. Well, change his mind, you know, like, I turn him into, like, an anti-racist, universal human rights protester. That would be a cool twist, yeah. Why couldn't you do that with Jeff Bezos? Isn't that the guy they had show up at your job? I think they hired an actor that looked exactly like him so that I would look crazy by telling you this story over and over again. But let's assume it was an actor and he pretended to be the boss. He tried to give me a hug and I said no, and then we were talking. It was just like a speed bump moment, like we got over it. And then we were talking, and I said directly to him and the guy standing next to him that stress kills you, and they looked at me like I had 7 heads. And it was August of 2019. And like, for me, that just is like, I thought about it over and over again. Like, whoever the fuck it was knew something was going to happen in 2020. That's why they looked at me like I was crazy. Because, I mean, it couldn't have been more like someone's been trying to stress you out to death. If it was possible, that's what they really wanted to do. And, you know, the entire population of the planet. Not just me. Yeah, why? It caused a stress to have people live in this, like, cognizant dissonant situation where they shouldn't have had to go to work, but a lot of people had to go anyway. And then the people that found a way to stay but then still couldn't afford stuff, of course you're going to run out of money. There was services, but it would wait till the very last second, like as if to try to push you. If it could push you outside, it was going to try to, even though that made no logical medical sense. And then, like, helped you at the last second. And that happened every 3 months from 2020 through until like 2022. If I could have just like measured the levels of stress, this has been the farthest thing from like a good time. And then someone still doesn't want to believe me when I say that I'm being harassed. I mean, I don't know. I'm yeah, I feel like I'm 34 now. I was 30 when it started. I'm 34 now. I feel like I'm still like a kid. You know, in a way. Like, I'm a kid. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I've had to, like, guess. It's not like I'm a political science major that was, like, gonna run for Congress or something. And yet, this affected the whole world. The whole world. The whole world. Something obviously went horribly wrong if the only people left are either in denial or like they were in on it, so they can sit there and keep laughing at you when you keep bringing it up. I have been inside for 4 years, the whole fucking time. Yeah, it's long enough for someone to graduate from college. a freshman just graduated from high school. In the length of time I've been in my room, and yeah, I feel like the feedback should be different. It doesn't make sense. I just get told I'm not being harassed, like, as if I don't get a sense of full understanding. Maybe because they had to keep going to work, and at some point they had to not think about it so seriously. I got fired and it turned into a wrongful termination on February 7th of 2020. If I had not been let go from my job, would I have kept going to work? And then it would have just turned into going and going and I mean, is that a good thing? Like, maybe I'd be dead right now. Because you would have just kept going to work. Yeah, I'd rather be alive. I've always been poor. It's not like, oh, you would have, rich or poor or something. It's like, I've always been poor. There was no real expectation out of winning the lottery or writing the next Harry Potter series. Was I going to not be poor? But yeah, thinking of what about other people and how they would have lost all their wealth, slowly draining them into poverty. Like, they were solidly middle class and they stayed inside and spent their money till they didn't have it anymore. Because they were scared of the virus. Which, yeah, logically you would be. It's weird that there weren't more scientists and doctors saying, for those medically vulnerable or something, I mean, I've been in the hospital, I've had pneumonia, I've been on antibiotics since I was in 5th grade. I've had to say the same shit over and over again. And yeah, the weird feeling like you're getting bitch slapped for it is suspicious. I kind of get why somebody who's never had pneumonia, never been on antibiotics, never been in the ER, would feel different. But this has happened to me 5 or 6 times. All of the different things. I haven't always had to go to the ER, but it was as early as 2018, October of 2018. And yeah, why don't you care? Because it's you think I'm weak? What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, it's just cruel, inhuman shit. You think I'm just weak? Fucking stupid. Yeah, I'm having to also learn to just ignore absolute bullshit. But it's so exhausting. People suck. Mordecai 612. I deal with anxiety and depression a lot. Oh. Have they ever put you on medication? Did I say 76? I don't know why. I think I said Mordecai 760. It's Mordecai 612. I don't know why the fuck. Sorry. Yeah, did they said I deal with anxiety and depression a lot. Have they put you on anything like Effexor? Or they put me on Effexor in college. Yeah, I got put on antidepressants. Prozac made me even more. I've heard really bad shit about Prozac specifically, like giving somebody the shits. I mean, I've heard bad feedback about every single antidepressant there was. Frankly, and my family, multiple medications and all this stuff. It's not like it made them like turn into superheroes or something. There's like too many things to try to cover all at once and you forget stuff. But yeah, I'm a medical patient and a bud tender. Like I have a license. I really think cannabis is medicine, but it has to be used the right way. And I can't just do all the science by myself, so. Somebody's trying to ruin that because it's like too many variables. They don't want to deal with it. They'd rather make everybody sober and go to church. I hate them. Do you do anything that makes you feel better, or like, is it sometimes something can make you feel better but it just doesn't even work? I don't know, like music or something. People can like really love music, but it doesn't always make you like feel the way you want to necessarily. Depends. Oh, you play music too, cool. What do you play? Anything with strings. Cool. That's fun. Duolingo has a piano music thing on it now that like has been kind of fun to fuck around with. Yeah. I love music. I just don't. It's like I need breaks from it or something, and then I have to remember to listen to it again. I don't know why that is. What makes you happy? Well, first, defining happy is like 5-second long thing. Like, I feel happy right now, not a state of being that I can stay in all the day long or something. Happiness for me is like 5 seconds at a time. Yeah, maybe it's the false, like, you feel sad because you think you're supposed to be happy, and that's supposed to be like a duration, like a state that you're in or something. And the difference between like momentary happiness and extended happiness is like, it makes you feel sad because you're not extendedly happy. Like, you must be doing something wrong, because it's like, I mean, that's how people make you feel, as if like depression and anxiety is like somehow, which is absolutely stupid. I just like, how many movies do you have to watch to understand what depression and anxiety is? But you still get this feedback, like, yeah, I don't think they want to get it. They want to feel better than you. So, like, that's how they feel better than you, because you're, like, not happy. And they'll be, like, I don't know, brainless and happy. I just wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. Yeah, it comes with a conscience, though. I guess that's a different kind of, like, sadness. I would rather be mindful and aware, and it's not blissed out. Like, no matter how, like, I like cannabis when I can afford it. No matter how stoned you get, you might be like that blissed, completely detached, totally fine feeling for like 20 minutes, and then you like come back to, you still feel better in your body. Like, the inflammation is reduced, a weight has been lifted, but you like still gonna sit there and watch the news and pay witness and like be aware. And that's like a mature state, I think, to be in. That the idea that you're supposed to be like high as a kite, blissed out to be happy is like an airheaded moron person who's a zombie. Like, I don't want to be that either. I don't, to have like meditation to clear your mind so you're not thinking of anything. Why would you want that to be the goal all the time? You just want someone to shut up. Like, you're actually trying to like silence me. And that's not, that maybe you feel happier. I don't feel happier. Like, I've noticed that over time. Like, oh, that's why they were into meditation. It's like telling someone's brain to shut up. They don't even care. Like, thanks. So yeah, I'd like if my body feels better. I like that feeling of like weightlessness. But I want to be like on in my head, like ready to write a book, an essay, a poem, to explain some shit. I'm gonna feel like fucking stupid if I can't do that, and then that's gonna make me sad. Like, yeah, I have a degree in writing. It's like what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And that fiction, nonfiction, poetry, essays. Yeah. I've got, do you use Facebook or Instagram? Oh, thanks. Cool. I do something cool. I'm not asking for your like social media or anything. I just mean like it has an AI. Facebook and Instagram have this like AI thing now, and you type in whatever you want and it shows a picture. And I've been like writing, I'm calling them like poems with the pictures.
So like you follow like a picture book, and you just type in what you want it to, the elements you want in the image, and then it comes up with a bunch of stuff. You pick your favorite ones. Yeah, even if you don't use it, you can still use you have to like, the menu where you would like post an image, it's like on the bottom of the list of stuff you can do. And so you just click on the AI option and then type in things. It'll even use your face, like if you want it to, but you don't have to do that. And I've been like making like visual poems with it, which is like the best for me. I think it's rad. Like, it's more fun than even like using words. Yeah, it hasn't been so bad. Yeah, I think I understand you just fine. That's all that matters. Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm kind of tired. Um, I tend to be awake at night and sleep during the day. So it's sort of like my bedtime. I just feel sort of like I want to do stuff. And I need this like different energy to do it, to get my body up and do stuff. And when I can't, I just need to like sleep a little bit and wake up and do it later. I don't know. I'm worried that my body's kind of broken and I have no future, and that, like, you're so fucked. And yeah, just like a rush of like, oh no. I think I might. It was nice to talk to you. I think I might leave the chat though. I wish I could say something like, here's what you should do to feel better, but we're bags of chemicals. Like, if you have a chemical depletion, you need to replace the chemical. There's coffee, there's sugar, there's cannabis, but it has to be done a certain way or you just feel worse. And yeah, it was nice to talk to you too. You feel like your mind's always racing. It's hard to explain the way your brain feels and then doesn't feel and then feels and then doesn't feel. Like, when I start to open my mouth, the words pour out, but like my eyes are just like taking in stuff or something. I'm like not even seeing my room. I'm just like, I don't know how to explain it. There aren't like necessarily verbalized thoughts going through my head. It's like a feeling. Yeah, I don't know. It's more like feelings, and then the feelings get attached to words.
and that's what comes out of my mouth. Anyway, I wish you well. Maybe we'll talk again someday. Yeah, you can follow me. I'll follow you back. Have a good one, okay? Bye.